just don't understand it. Instead of feeling happy, I feel sort of let down. I know how you feel about all this Christmas business. Getting depressed and all that. It happens to me every year.
Hey guys, welcome, hello, let's enjoy music. We're gonna enjoy Toad. Merry Christmas, everyone. I know it's late, but this is our Christmas gathering. Merry Christmas. Green pie, cheers. Let's sing. I know the lyrics. I don't actually know the lyrics. Hi, Maka. Oh,
I hear
what more can I do? Baby, all I want for Christmas is you. Okay, I'm not gonna actually sing it because otherwise I'll be too loud. Hi, Maka.
You sound so far away right now.
Oh, let me fix that. Hang on. Better?
Yeah, better.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Hello, Maka. Okay, you know what? Let me put this away and bring this back. Hi, everyone. Hi, how's everyone doing? Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Excuse me, can you please stop playing? There's supposed to be music playing. Why is there no music? Yeah.
That's not me.
And you know what? Fuck this. Hang on. I'll be right back. Give me a minute. I'll be right back.
Hey there.
Come here, motherfucker.
Have a good one.
Right, I'm going to just do this. And okay, I'm going to hope that this isn't TOS. Yes. Yeah, some nice Christmas music. Let me know if I need to adjust the volume. I feel like it's a bit too loud. Maka, could you say something?
Hello.
Turn it down a little bit. I think that's better. Okay. Hi everyone. What the fuck is that song? That was Toad. You remember Toad, Numi? Back when you had song requests? You remember, right, Numi? I used to request Toad for you, so you get to learn about Toad as well. Right?
Jesus Christ.
Right? Right? How are you doing, Maka?
I'm
Are you-
doing good.
Are you taking care of the wire?
I got a new headset. A brand new headset.
Yeah. Are you taking care of the wire?
Yeah.
Okay, make sure you take good care of that thing because that thing will break very quickly if you don't take care of it. Hi, Lucky. Hi, Convo Liner. Lily. Numi. Hi, guys. Welcome.
I guess.
Well, technically, I'm in the Fence Plus. Anyone can join. That's where we're gonna be. We're in the.
Wait, what?
Actually, hang on a
Wait,
second.
when did I become Kitty's boyfriend? As I go AFK. Boy toy.
Sorry about that. It's for some reason it's really hard.
So I go from boyfriend to boy toy. All right, Cass.
I thought I'm usually the boy toy.
I mean, you are.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry
in chat.
Christmas.
Making macaroni. Ooh, macaroni. Hey, I love macaroni. Your day. Hi, your day. Hi. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Hi. Hi. How are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Sure.
Candy cane for
Did you see
cutie.
my lame poster?
What kind of candy cane is green? Your lame poster. I saw.
Oh, it's
Oh, look, it's your day. Look, that's your day, guys. Look, we have someone famous in here. Look, you see? Look at how famous he is. He has a poster here. Actually, wait, the poster just rotated. Hang on. That's not who we're supposed to look at. Give me a second. Not this guy
It
either.
take a long time to
Yeah, to wait for it to come back. We'll stand right over here while we wait for your day's poster to get back.
And it will take like
God damn it. Hang on.
3 minutes or like a 5
Hang
minutes
on.
or something.
I need the fucking. There we go. I need this. This is I control the volume of the music in the world. What kind of weird mix is this? It just keeps switching from song to song. Oh, god damn it. Ah, fuck. Hang on. Where's the Christmas music? Oh, okay. So that's how it works. Oh, god damn it. No! No! Fuck! Hang on. Okay, now I'm just going to hope that... Oh my, what are we looking at? I saw that. Ooh, what was that? I don't worry, Chad, don't worry. It's fine, it's TOS. It's TOS safe, it's fine, it's fine. Hydrate. Oh, hydrate. Okay. So, someone call hydrate. I need to get eggnog. Hang on, I have eggnog right here.
Cutie hydrates and misses the poster.
You guys watch for the poster, okay? Okay. Hang on, let me do this. There we go. Okay, you guys. You guys get to see the poster while I go and prepare to hydrate. Hang on, I need to pour eggnog, and I need to be careful because I'm manipulating a glass jar without being able to see. Hang on. Hang on, let me shake the jar a little bit. There we go. Okay. And oh boy, I'm trying to make sure I don't spill it. There we go.
I think it's coming soon.
What was that?
Soon.
Who coming soon?
Soon.
Are you coming soon?
Pasta.
Oh, I miss it. There it is. There's your day.
So lame. I have to change.
Wow. Wow, it looks nice. I think it looks nice. Right, so I got my where's the chat screen? There it is. I got my eggnog, everyone. Grab your drinks. And it doesn't matter what you're drinking. You guys don't have to drink alcohol if you guys don't want to. Anything is fine. As long as you're here, chat.
Shit,
Grab your
I
drinks,
can't, I
everyone.
got work tomorrow.
You have work tomorrow? No, that's fine. Like I say, you can just drink anything. Can be tea, coffee, water. Yeah. Oh. Going in 3, 2, 1. Mean pie, everyone. Cheers. Oh yeah.
I would say you'll take a jar and Kitty will be fucking gone.
What? What was that?
Nothing.
Something about the jar?
No, I said it'll take about a jar and a half for you to just be gone like you did last year.
Technically, I'll be gone in a jar, but it's fine. It's fine. I have plenty of water next to me. Yeah, I have 3 bottles of water sitting over there.
That still didn't stop you for shoving your crotch in the camera.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Macaroni, son. Ooh, macaroni. You know. I don't know if it's just my bad luck or whatever, but I've always wanted to have good macaroni and cheese. Every time I see a place with macaroni and cheese, I'm like, oh, let's have some of that. That sounds delish, but I'm always disappointed because it tastes literally like just it tastes just like I don't even know how to describe it. It tastes just like a
Noodles.
pasta. Yeah, a pasta noodle with cream on it. That's it. There's no flavor there. Where's the flavor? Why do people like this? Why can't I find good macaroni? Well, what's the secret to good macaroni and cheese? Because clearly it's good for a reason, right? Surely there's something I'm missing, right? Right?
Usually it's the cheese, whatever type of cheese you're using, and spices. Like, it's usually what it is.
So the secret is the cheese, huh? Red, green, and white candy cane. Oh? And eBay, really? I don't know. Whenever Any candy that's green, I feel like, yeah, no thank you. No thank you to green candy. Maybe it's just me. But yeah, no thank you to green candy.
But I'm
Yes,
green.
Yeah, it's fine, it's fine. Let me just rip the green stuff off you. Then I'll eat you, yes.
That would be inappropriate for stream.
Oh, I see someone.
I thought that was Chief, but it's Louis. It's Louis. I thought it was Chief.
Yeah. I have another friend who... Oh. Hang on. Let me show chat. Hi, Louis. Hi. No. Oh, that's Louis. Hi. Hello.
Hi, Chief.
Normal little
Chief.
sheep. Oh, it's so cute. Yesterday, the Bob Evans has pretty good macaroni. Really? Unfortunately, I'm nowhere near the States, so yeah. There's no way for me to taste good macaroni, at least. No way for me to taste what people say is good macaroni.
There's also baked mac and cheese, which you put like breadcrumbs on top, flavored breadcrumbs, and you put in the oven.
I mean, you'd think that would
That's
be
actually
good,
pretty good.
but I can't find any. I'm gonna have to learn to make my own. Am I gonna have to learn to make my own? Chat. Like I have to learn to make my own eggnog. Is that what I'm gonna have to do?
Artie's from Malaysia.
Yeah, I'm from Malaysia.
Malaysia. It's pretty easy.
We don't have eggnog here, so
Now depends.
I have to learn how to make my own.
You could, depending on the type of cheeses you have, you could go strong, mild,
I
or
prefer
something
strong.
in the middle.
I prefer strong. I like strong, cheesy flavors. Well, what cheese should I go for?
Let's see. You can do sharp cheddar, which is
Sharp cheddar?
it's pretty strong.
Okay. Yeah, we have cheddar here. Although it's technically just relatively cheaply made cheddar, but oh yeah.
Cheap.
Well, it's the best we got.
Right. Monterey Jack cheese is actually pretty strong. It's really good.
Ooh, I like Monterey Jack.
Let's
Although
see.
I don't think I've made anything with Monterey Jack before. Usually the closest I've come to it is just, you know, those little like Monterey Jack cheese stick snacks things that you can buy in the supermarket. That's the closest.
Yeah.
Although I'm fairly certain those
Right.
don't taste as good as like quote unquote proper Monterey Jack cheese.
Hi, Louis.
Ring. And now the little shite became a really, really,
The little
really
shite.
hot dragon girl.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah. Really,
Very
really hot dragon girl.
Hot dragon girl.
Hi Slam Chan, welcome. Okay, also hang on a second. Let me fix my status real quick. Hang on. I need to change my status over to this. There we go. Right. Did your day leave? Oh, your day left. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
they left. Yeah, they left. Oh,
Thanks for shopping by
yes.
your day, Visalia. So hi Kagu, welcome. Oh, why is my give it a minute.
And goodbye.
Why is my hip tracker losing tracking? There's nothing that should be causing this.
Don't know.
Hang on.
What other cheeses? Monterey Jack, sharp cheddar. You can go with Gouda. Gouda's a pretty good one.
I've had Gouda,
Gouda
but Gouda
cheese.
is not that strong. Last I had it.
It's not strong.
It's not strong.
Goat cheese.
It was? Hi, Jazz. Yeah, I love goat cheese. You guys are making me hungry.
Okay.
God damn it. I feel like I want to make some macaroni and cheese, but there's no way how I can make it now. Fuck.
So, Cass, which one am I? Am I the boyfriend or the boy toy for Cutie?
Oh my god.
Okay.
What?
Is it clearly a boy toy?
Boy toy. But I thought Cutie's usually the boy toy.
Yeah, I'm usually a boy toy. This one and I'm not the boy toy. Cooking stream. Sadly, I can't do an IRL cooking stream. Not unless I go to Numi's house. Technically it wasn't this year, but the year before, last year, I asked Numi whether or not I could use his kitchen to and do cooking stream with him, but unfortunately last year it didn't work out, so hang on, I'm trying to
Ooh,
fix something.
meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and gravy. Oh, that sounds fucking amazing, Lucky Bear. I haven't had a good meatloaf in so fucking long. Jesus.
Do not bring up the meatloaf. Ooh, meatloaf. Oh, you're making me hungry. It's fine.
That sounds
Don't worry.
so
Chat.
fucking good.
I have. I know some of you might be worried that I'm drinking because you're not supposed to drink on an empty stomach, but don't worry. I have
Oh god.
Lace.
It's fine.
I have Lace.
Yeah, they're
Lace
gonna be
stacks.
gone within a jar.
No, I ate
I start putting
something.
the crotch in the camera.
I ate something.
Okay,
I
jar.
literally
and a
just
half.
ate a muffin. Literally just.
Jar and a half.
How long ago did I eat something? I ate something about 6 hours ago.
Hold on, keep Cass.
That was my dinner. So yeah, I've got potato chips. Nice salty potato chips.
Cheers.
I'll give you something else that's salty. What?
God. Fuck him.
Hey. Someone had to make the joke.
Somebody.
It'll either gonna be me or Cass.
I don't keep people salty for this.
Okay, I'm gonna put this down before I end up eating the entire thing. Hang on a second.
I know, I'm giving you salty things.
Gonna put this down over here so I can reach it easy.
No, you can't say anything because I gave you salty things too.
Here we go again. What? Here we go again. What? You mean another Christmas tree? Yeah, another Christmas tree. Yeah. Another wholesome say so Christmas tree. Totally wholesome, totally say so. Nothing weird happening. You see, we have a nice cuddle pile here. That's wholesome, right? We have a Christmas tree in the bag. That was, don't know who made that, but someone made it.
Don't know who made it.
Oh, I could use some mashed potatoes, actually. Although,
Mashed potatoes are really good.
yeah.
Mashed potatoes and gravy is so good. Right?
Although, okay. Hang on a second. I need to talk about something. Have you guys seen or had that instant mashed potato in a cup thing?
Yes,
Has
I
anyone?
don't think I've ever heard of it.
Has anyone had
yes,
that?
I have.
Now I was watching. Was it Soviet Womble stream the other day, and was it? I think it was SWAT, one of his friends, went on a huge rant about people who eat that instant mashed potato in a cup thing. He's like, you fucking idiots! Why? Just make your own mashed potatoes. Goddamn! Why would you buy that shit? but making mashed potatoes is it's not something I can do at like 3 in the morning, right?
Yeah, that. And if you're working so much and you need something quick, that's one thing.
Although actually, to be fair, if I'm working so much, even if I'm working so much, I will go for instant noodles and the instant noodles that you have to cook in a pot, that kind of stuff, rather than in a cup kind of thing. Because in a cup stuff, that's emergency, like past midnight rations when everyone is asleep. You can't make that much noise to cook. Yeah.
I mean, you can also do mac and cheese in a cup.
Yeah, well, Cass keeps talking about craft dinners, and I'm always like, maybe I should buy a craft dinner, but in the end I never buy it because it's so much more expensive than just a cup of instant noodles. So in the end I never buy the craft cheese thing.
Boxes on Amazon.
That's like 3 times the price of what I could get over here, or something
Ow.
crazy like that.
Someone had their smack sound on and it smacked me in the head.
I didn't hear anything.
Someone has a smack sound on.
I didn't hear anything.
I don't know.
You guys hear
Let's see.
anything? I didn't hear anything.
Wait. I heard like a smack sound.
No, I'm not hearing anything. Are you guys hearing something?
I guess it's just me. So I swear I heard something like when you did this, cutie. It hit to my right in my general direction. I heard a smack sound, and so I went like, ah.
I
I was
didn't,
like, what the fuck?
I didn't hear anything.
That's Kitty's ass cheeks.
There's some
Jesus.
nice cheeks.
Oh, there it is.
I did for dinner last night because
There's the smack you were looking for.
Also,
Don't do it. Don't do it too much, cutie.
don't worry, it's fine.
I know how much.
It's just Foley.
I know.
Foley.
I know how much.
It's Foley. It's Foley sound effects. Making sound effects. Yeah. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's
sound effects that'll turn
it's
people
totally
on.
fine. Yeah.
Sound effects.
Hello, Marks. Welcome. Welcome.
It's just
Merry
sound
Christmas.
effects. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Foley sound effects.
Especially me, since I'm very audio sensitive.
I'm having my app making my computer want to break itself because I'm trying to show people's avatars.
Make sure you be nice to your computer. Oh, there's not that many people in here yet. If you need me to, I can switch to an optimized avatar. I have an optimized avatar I could use. Easy.
See how it is with everyone having.
Alright, let me know. In fact, I created an optimized avatar specifically for this. That's what I spent Christmas Day doing. Aside from sleeping, aside from napping for 6 hours, I was working on an optimized avatar.
Imagine
wow.
that. Been for 6 hours.
Yeah,
Fuck.
that was my Christmas Day chat. I woke up, ate breakfast, played a little bit of Dark Tide with Aoi and Numi for like an hour or two, and then napped for 6 hours.
Oh my god.
Damn them slaps. So I just computed sound effects to turn on each avatar one at yeah, turn on each avatar one at a time. That will make you
I would
less
not
likely
gonna
to
lie, I
die.
would take a nap, but I gotta get up at 4 in the morning tomorrow for work, so there's no fucking point. Because if I sleep now,
What
I'm
time
not
do you
gonna
have to
sleep
go to
tonight.
bed, Maka?
Like like 10:40.
Usually I go to bed around 9:30, 10 o'clock my time.
This is my optimized avatar.
So I get about 6 hours of sleep.
Decimated. Almost everything fancy removed. Yeah. I tried to make it
Do I have
look
optimized
somewhat
model? I don't
decent,
think I do.
beside the fact that it's optimized.
Oh, wait. Yeah, I do. Where's that?
Hope it looks good though. But
Oh, damn.
use that later once once the room
How small
starts
is one of
feeling it.
those?
But now I want
No,
to
you're
stick
the
with
small
this.
bean.
Shut up.
Come on.
Oh, by the way, Chan, if you guys want me to take a drink, remember exclamation point hydrate. You guys can make me drink some ice. Although right now I feel thirsty because of the potato chips I just ate. Let me drink some coffee.
He's always thirsty.
Bye. Cheers, everyone.
That depends.
You're cream pie.
Okay, hang on a second. Am I gonna have to introduce a fucking cooldown for that shit? Kagu?
I think
Kagu?
have to.
Kagu? Kagu? You remember what happened last time? You spammed drink something at me? Kagu? What happened last time? You remember, don't you? Right? Right?
Ooh, that's a bite.
Might as well get in here so that you can take responsibility. Oh god damn it, really? You misredeeming 500 at a time. Yeah, Kagu. You're supposed to take responsibility, Kagu. Oh. Big chicken. Little delicious nugget. Ah yeah. Yes, come here nugget. Come here. I'm hungry. Let me have some delicious nuggets. Come.
Help.
Also, yeah, I'll drink. Hang on a second. Let me get on it. Level, how many hydras was that? 5? I counted 5.
Excuse me, ma'am. Would you like a cock?
Everyone,
How about 2?
bye.
about
Cheers.
I think you're pushing these. They're a bit small.
I mean, they're small. Look at how huge these things are. 2.
I can.
Okay.
Okay.
Hang on, let me. I need to pour more eggnog.
Cass knows what this
You do
mod
not
can
think a
do.
cooldown is necessary? Whoops. It's fine. If need be, I'll set it. In a minute.
Actually, missing my trouble is Christmas. I just don't
I need to
understand.
add more
Happy, I feel sort of let down. I know how you
eggnog.
feel about all this Christmas business, getting depressed and all that. It happens to me every year.
Oh, guys. I'm not sure if you noticed, but I taste tested the eggnog over the weekend, and I kind of learned that technically I mentioned this on my Discord, but I kind of learned that the eggnog the changes that I made to the eggnog recipe made it a little bit more dilute due to the fact that there's egg whites in the drink now. So I mentioned that maybe I might add more nutmeg or cinnamon, but this time I made sure to shake the jar a little more thoroughly, and the nutmeg and cinnamon flavor is a lot stronger, so I think I just didn't shake the eggnog enough. So yeah, I think I need to add more. Should be okay. Alright, so 4 5.
I was trying to find the YouTube channel and I to
You're close to get me drunk? Oh, don't worry, I'll be fine. Trust me. Trust
Cutie
me.
will be drunk by a jar and a half. You already know this.
More like a single jar, but Oh, no matter what, chat, I reserve the right to cut myself off when I start feeling sick, okay? As long as we understand that. Let me fix up my hydrate command so that there's a cooldown, and I will indicate that there is a cooldown on it. Chat bot. Chat command. Custom command. Hydrate.
Yeah, so cute.
That is cast like almost sounds like Mew from Pokemon.
Well,
My ears,
that
I
was
just
the
hear
other
Mew.
cat.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a new do I sound like me from Pokemon?
What's the sounds that you make?
Alright, so it now should have a 30-second cooldown, and the command will say it has a 30-second cooldown. So
Stretch. From the belly.
how did I shake the eggnog? I have them in glass jars, so I just went, you know, shake, 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 shake.
Shook it like a shake and weight.
Jeez, a bunch of drunk idiots. We just started, we're not drunk yet.
I don't drink.
Although, actually, I'm not sure if
Yeah, me
anyone else
neither.
is drinking. Wait, am I the only one who's drinking?
Yes.
Really? Ugh. Fine, fine.
I'll join you, cutie, but
I'll be the one who
but
drinks.
finally I don't have anything.
That's fine, that's
So the
fine.
question is, which one of us is
Fine.
going to take the drunk cutie home?
Cheers.
That's your responsibility.
Or Cass's?
Yeah, or Cass.
Even like
No.
3
Oh,
hours
another
later.
one.
My challenge is to throw cutie in the pool.
Throw cutie in the pool.
You know, that's actually a health hazard. Drinking around a pool, people can pass out and into the pool and drown while they're drunk. Don't do that. That's a really bad health hazard.
I will just dive in and save you and give you CPR. Just don't throw up in my mouth.
No, I promise I'll throw up in the pool.
Cutie stuck pee-pee in eggnog and tried to
No, what are you talking about? I won't do that. That's unsanitary, guys.
Unsanitary, okay.
Yeah.
Sanitary.
Yeah, I
Keyword
won't do that to food. You guys know, you should know me better by now. I care about the sanctity of food a lot.
She was like, I will not do anything to food. That's an ass.
Oh, what?
I won't do anything for food. Just
Oh, I would eat that.
You need more potato
I'm
chips.
sure you would. Sure you would.
I mean, I have, so it didn't reach.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
Cutie stuck pee-pee in eggnog, tried to stir. Keyword tried. It didn't reach.
Listen. I know I have a small Chinese penis, alright? And there's nothing you can do about it. And there are chaps and fanboys whose dicks are bigger than mine. I know life isn't fair, chat and Cass. I know life is not fair. It's not fucking fair. Why?
I'm not gonna say what my size is.
Why is my penis so small?
I'm bigger than you. And mine is gonna go snip, snip, snip.
I'm not.
At least there's no mint command anymore. I might bring it back actually. Mint command.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say.
I technically still have the mints. The mints that I had prepared back before I got permabanned off Twitch. The mints are still there.
For putting your ass in your put.
I could bring the mint command back. I just haven't programmed the bot to respond to it yet. Found out your dick is below average when you thought it was average. Yeah, that's the curse of average, isn't it? Doesn't matter what the average size is. Half the world is smaller than average. Just think about that. Just think about it. You know, think about what the average size is and realize that half the world is smaller than that. That's the curse of average. Fucking, why is the world so unfair? Oh. It's not the size, it's how you use it. Yeah, that's why I keep telling myself so that I won't cry myself to sleep at night. Your marks are like that smaller. Insecure, your dick is too big. I think it all depends on how big your master is. I'm going to engage in this conversation. Enjoy your macaroni. You know what? I feel tempted to just go and buy macaroni right now. Just order it online. Oh, which reminds me, the dildo, right? The dildo, right? Yeah, the dildo, right?
It's me who said. Like I actually have a bowl of macaroni.
Yeah, you're making me hungry. The only thing I have is potato chips and biscuits. Yeah, I want something that's not salty. I still have biscuits. Yeah, I'm tempted to just get onto a local online supermarket and just order macaroni and cheese. And you know, those instant craft macaroni and cheese and get that delivered. That's what I'm thinking of anyway. Although technically, I still have
Yeah, the couples are stupid easy to make.
back when I was in Australia, I actually made them fairly often. They were my emergency midnight snack when I was in Australia, because the craft macaroni and cheese in Australia is about as cheap as instant noodles, cups of instant noodles, so it ended up coming up to the same price. So yeah. Although when I was in Australia, instead of using water, I mixed it with milk instead. It made it so good. Chat.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah, you can do it with milk.
Wait, what? Yes.
So, I I've got a microphone that slightly detects my voice and gives me talk and suggests words of the time to use. Yeah, those were the words that it suggested.
I mean, it's just, it's adorable. I mean, it's just, you know, that AI voice recognition thing. I don't really trust those. And little cat burger. Yeah, you know, I don't understand. You know, foods that look really cute like animals and stuff. I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you go to all the trouble of making the food look so adorable if you're just gonna eat it?
I mean,
Please like eat me.
I just it's either you feel bad for eating it, or you eat it and this thing becomes like looks like someone is taking a huge chunk out of it, and you're like, someone is eating the cat alive out there.
Or it's like someone made it so pretty, you try to take a picture of it, and then someone just squishes it with their fork.
I like eating cute things.
Oh.
Well.
Oh damn. Hello.
When it comes to cute things, I prefer licking.
You're sitting on the.
Or biting, not eating. Cute pizza makes you hungry.
Burger.
Cute pizza? What's a cute pizza look like? Yeah, I know you can sit on it, but I'm refusing to sit on it because if you start moving and jumping around, I'm gonna get motion sick. So yeah, that's why I'm really careful about sitting on seats.
And Cass is eating your ass.
Fuck. Alright, I'm gonna change back.
Yeah, I get motion sick whenever I lose control of my own movement in VR, so that's why I'm really careful about sitting on avatars with seats on them. Really uncomfortable when the food resembles a living animal? Well, for me, it's not so much discomfort, more like I feel bad for eating this because, you know, it's such fine art. And I cut into it and it looks like I've just mauled a poor cat or something. Oh man.
Did Louis just run away? What did you
You wouldn't eat a burger, Carrie, probably fuck it. But delicious burger. Why would you waste delicious burger by fucking it? Don't waste food, chat. Wasting food is bad. Also, hello, Mr. Fix. Welcome. How's it going?
Wait, is that Toadie?
Who? What?
Creator Things, is that Toadie? Hey, Toadie!
Oh, it is Toddy! Hi, Toddy! Welcome! Welcome, Toddy! Hi, how you doing? You fuck anything that is cute? I wouldn't fuck food though, it's like such a huge waste of food. I just don't like the idea of wasting food. Because food is so delicious, chat. Why would you waste delicious food by fucking it?
I mean, you see a hot dog. What are you gonna do to the hot dog?
I'd shove it down my throat. Oh, Mitchell, welcome. You got it, Mitchell. That's not Mitchell Lozo, that's a different Mitchell. It's a power with those cakes. It looks super real. How real do they look? I mean, I have seen like cute little cartoon cakes and stuff. I don't think I know about real cakes. I know someone who used to use those avatars Those little sprite avatars. Forest spirit avatars. Although he's kind of changed to a different avatar now. So nice. Actually, when I saw you behind the marks, I was like, wait, is that? My friend, no, it's not. it's marks.
It's not gonna cool.
Yeah. You'll eat it after? Okay, as long as you don't waste food. Cutest fun you would fuck. Oh my.
Wait, what?
I mean, okay, as long as you know, take good care of me after. Cakes with icing. You know, surprisingly, I don't actually like icing. I know a lot of people are like, can I lick the icing off the spoon or some shit whenever they bake cakes and stuff, but I don't actually like the taste of icing. At least not on its own.
It depends on which one you're... It depends, because sometimes the icing is very sweet, especially if one's from the can. But like homemade icing is actually really, really good.
I can definitely getting a little different. Are there types of icing?
I mean, you know, that could be arranged.
Merry Christmas, Christian. Merry Christmas. Welcome.
I'm pretty sure I have enough for icing 2 cakes.
Oh. Nice, this cake.
Don't you tease me.
Yeah, you can just taste the flour on the corner. Flour on the corner? Oh. Flour? Corner? I don't know what you mean by that. I'm sorry. My mom makes amazing. I say, oh, homemade icing. Okay, maybe one day I just need to try homemade icing. But although we don't really make,
is pretty good.
unfortunately, we don't really make cakes in this household. So, actually, wait, no. My sister-in-law does make cakes. Very rarely, but she does. So, technically, the cake she made would have been with homemade icing. Because I have tasted homemade icing, just not on its own. Oh, you mean all those little like decorations on the cakes, like the little flowers and fruits and stuff, well, made of icing. Yeah, those aren't too bad because I mean they are part of the cake. Grabbing just like that one piece of icing along with the cake, that's fine. That's fine. Just a little bit of extra sweet icing, cake stuff. Yeah. Butter-based icing or cream cheese icing? Cream cheese icing.
Cream cheese icing is actually pretty good.
I'm not sure if I've ever had it before. I'm trying to think. Is there anything I would have eaten that would have had that?
Probably cheesecake.
I would have had that. Also,
Because usually cream cheese ice is usually traditionally used on cheesecakes.
that is a very strange hopple. I've never seen that hopple before.
And it goes on carrot cake. And it goes on carrot cake.
Ew, carrot cake. Disgusting! Disgusting!
It's not that bad.
Okay, that hopple is scary. It's making all these cursed avatars with hopple.
Kuma.
Is it Kuma?
I don't know if it's Kuma. I don't know if Kuma made that.
Kuma makes sexy hopple, not horror hapu.
I have that one, but then I lost.
Oh, this one is
and then I
okay.
didn't
This one
want it
isn't
anymore.
too bad. Giant
How's
spider
this
hapu.
one okay, and the other one scares the shit out of you?
Because listen, I'm scared of ghosts. Okay, I'm actually. You guys know the game Phasmophobia. I'm actually phasmophobic, so yeah. I don't I don't deal with ghosts very well. But giant spider monsters, that's fine. Small spiders I'm scared of, but big spider monsters, this is okay.
Take Cutie to somewhere haunted for a ghost adventure.
No thank you. I'm not gonna go anywhere haunted. Thank you very much. No thank you. You guys can go on your own, and if you guys disappear never to be seen again, I will mourn your passing and burn Chinese money for you. But you guys are gonna be.
Probably the other I don't tell Cutie I got ghosts at my house.
I mean, Nizu mentions that he has a ghost around him, but I'm like, okay, I'll take your word for it. Almost looks like Ashu. This one isn't Ashu. This one is Maka. Yeah, this one's a Maka. Okay, this Hapu is not too bad. No, which Hapu? Aww. Aww.
I used to have the Sexapu, but I got rid
You being with
The big TD Hapu.
because I didn't want it anymore, and I just didn't really have a use. I didn't have a use.
We were
So I
supposed
didn't
to
really
meet
have a
up
use for it anyway.
one week.
Like, what am I supposed to use it for? I barely see people in VRC anyway.
We know the person who makes all the big TD Hapus.
Yes,
good.
Kuma.
Kuma.
Just at least just let me keep
Sad,
all regular. Like at least let me keep my mom.
sadly, I
And
fucked
Mapu?
most of them.
That one is Maka. That's a Hapu. Hapu.
Thanks for the insight.
Is that a Hapu? Yep, it's a Hapu.
Are you trying to get
The spiders
complicated?
can go hide where they live. Yeah, yeah, I'm a little bit scared of spiders, but as long as the spider, leaves me alone, even if I see it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave. You're gonna stay right there. At the wait, hang on, what? Whoa, wait, what? What the fuck just?
Lucky you donated $69.
Lucky for $67.
Luck eater. Donated $69.
Yeah, Lucky,
Yeah, I
Lucky,
know.
Lucky, thank you so much, Lucky. Thank you so much. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for me. Oh my god. That's seriously a lot of. Thank you so much, Lucky. Thank
If I had a little
you.
extra money, I would have donated 100.
No. Save your money. Save your money. Your money. Always save your money first. Make sure you have good savings set aside before you think about tipping me anything. Yeah.
I mean, I can tip you with
I don't
money,
even know
or,
what happened.
or I can tip you with something else.
Oh. Little moth hapu. Aww.
Cutie,
Aw.
wanted to hunt.
Oh.
This was the one I was using the other day.
And then I'll give you a tip too.
This one can have its own emoji.
Almost sounded like Kermit.
So-
Hello, bird.
Oh my
Is that
god,
the
it has
Kermit
a
voice?
lantern. That's cute.
Yeah,
Boy.
Oi.
it can say play.
Aww. Oh, how to...
And the biggest reason I keep this avatar is for one reason I keep this avatar is for one reason. Because they can fly.
Yeah.
And I don't have any other avatars that fly.
Well, I mean,
What was-
Ford does apparently. This one. This one
I need to
apparently
learn
does.
how avatar flying is handled nowadays because I didn't. I've always wanted to add it to my avatars, but I don't know how it's done. Sweet little suckers. Kermit's your favorite. I don't actually like Kermit the Frog all that much. I know that a lot of people like him, but I don't like him that much.
You like
I
Elmo?
don't like it.
Elmo, tickle me Elmo. Hi, I'm Tickle Me Elmo. I know it's a piece of pizza. Oh wow, that's a really good Elmo voice. I can't do an Elmo voice.
There you
Can
go.
you can you say it's time
There
for
you go.
sodomy?
There's your Elmo. Wait, what?
Can you say it's time for sodomy in the Elmo voice?
It's time to what?
It's time for sodomy.
Sodomy?
Yes. Sodomy means getting fucked in the
Think I
ass.
can check? Oh.
It's time for sodomy! Yes. Yeah, perfect.
No, Louie, you had to say that, then go, yay!
Yay! I see the hydrate. Thanks for the hydrate, Lucky. Dream for everyone. Cheers.
That would have been so fucking funny.
Oh my god.
Hmm.
I don't know why,
Anyways.
but for me it's just like so easy to curse with Elmo. It's just so easy for me.
What was that? Really, with his free
A Elmo.
the feel neck, the frog.
Well, believe me, I know there's some out there. I know there are some out there.
And just join on like Flame Stream, you're like, just sing the Elmo's World.
Oh my god.
Elmo is right. Yep.
I'll probably go to that
Hello,
one
baby.
world where I can like search up
Motherfucker.
movies.
Just see you walk past the camera in front of chat. Time to get fucked in the ass.
Time to get fucked in the ass, yeah! Okay, I can't do an Elmo voice. Time to get fucked in the ass, yay!
Oh my god. Fucking hell.
Oh.
She got them hips.
Hmm.
Them hip action.
She got them baby making hips.
Oh my god.
Baby, what?
How? Well, how does that? What does that mean? Oh, guys.
My videos might be lagging, but I can still hear it just fine.
How's your computer holding up?
What's that avatar name? I want to know that, Abby.
Because you can spread.
Is it like
Oh god!
public or-
What the fuck?
It is.
Oh, okay.
It is public. I can take it to the wall to it later.
Okay.
There's a bunch of other puppies there too.
Thank you for the follow, Danes. Well, subscriptions. Thank you for subscribing, Danes.
Following.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I'm too used to saying follow.
I know.
My menu open, I can give you the world name. God, 15 frames per second.
Hi, Dane. Welcome. How's it going? Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone.
I'm just gonna look up moth and see what pops up.
No, it's not. I got my menu open. I'm trying to find what tab I have it in. The wall called a strange place.
What?
Called what?
Gas.
What's it called?
The world is called a strange place, and it's by Neko-san.
Oh, that old
Oh,
wall.
literally the person that made this. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know he made a moth hopper this big. I thought all the moth hoppers he
I mean,
made
we
were
can
tiny.
go and just play with the Hapus.
I know how you feel about all this Christmas business. Getting
Wait for me to come back with an Elmo Hapu.
Oh god, if you can
What?
find
Elmo
one.
Hapu? Well, how the hell did that work?
So I don't think the foundation will have one.
I'm guessing
I
it would
went
be
to the
like
foundation
this,
several times, I
but
don't
like
think they'll
all
have
red and it has like Elmo's face. I'm
Oh
guessing.
god.
Oh
Ugh.
god.
Fucking no. No, thank you.
Jeez.
Hey, can I share something that only one person found last time we were all on?
Guys, you lay down like that. I wish I could just cuddle you. We'll go to sleep.
Is Cass falling asleep?
She's always tired.
Oh my god.
Falling asleep?
Ah, my strap.
Oh.
My Velcro straps are being shitty.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried that my...
I don't know how you would fix that.
New Velcro. You have to get new Velcro and sew it on yourself.
Yeah.
I need to send
I actually have some Velcro with me. Actually.
It's technically
I work
not
at
a
Lowe's,
bad
so
thing to learn how to do. Getting Velcro and
I just super glue
sewing it on yourself.
Just super glue it. Super glue
Super
Velcro on my straps.
Super
'Cause I
glue
don't
works well.
have thread and needle.
Yeah.
She's stretching.
If
Yeah.
Velcro doesn't work,
Although
use duct tape.
looks so comfortable right now.
I
It's
know.
tempting me to just lie down, which is not a good idea. Hang on, let me. I know what will help me
Makes
still.
me want to lay down too.
I see your pain.
I
You
mean,
should try my pain. You
I
will
drink
never
coffee.
be able to sleep in your own bed again. That's how comfy my bed is.
Can I sleep in your bed?
Of course.
All right. I'll plan a trip to Canada right now.
you know, technically, I know it doesn't look like it, but the bed that I'm using is actually a really good bed. It's supposed to be a really expensive one.
I will say, imagine having a bed.
The
and I
only-
sleep on the floor.
The only reason it looks
I mean,
like
floor can
poor
sometimes
is because
be more comfortable than your bed.
Fuck no, my back hurts. That shit's uncomfortable as hell.
You don't know what expensive.
I mean, hey, I take a nap on the floor whenever
This
flames
mattress,
freeze.
my grandmother bought it 15 years ago for $2,500.
oh,
Hold on,
15
Maka.
years
I'm gonna
ago.
send you something real quick.
This mattress
I'm gonna send
today
you something on
is
DMs.
$8,000.
does it come with one of those lifetime we will take care of the mattress for you kind of thing?
I don't think it does. I think it's supposed to. I don't think
Where
it
is it?
does.
There it is.
I don't
There
think
you
The thing is, my grandmother
Oh boy.
so the lifetime is
God.
already expired.
Oh, that. Okay,
Oh.
My
I see
grandmother
that.
is dead.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
You already know what the meme is.
Mhm.
Technically, Kason has one of those that she keeps talking about what the $9,000 bid or something. Is it $9,000 or $19,000 bid?
I would not spend that much
Or
on a fucking
Kei-san.
mattress.
God.
I don't know. Kei-san bought a $9,000 bid, and apparently it comes with a lifetime guarantee of, will if there's any problems, we'll fix the bid for you, kind of thing, for free.
I haven't spent a penny on this bed.
I'll fuck you on that bed.
That's what it's for.
Try to be gentle with it.
Oh, I bet. I'll fuck you on your bed.
But Yuri's back. Post the Yuri. I wonder if there's any other Christmas. Is there any like Christmas
Any other
compilation?
Christmas worlds?
Well, I know there are plenty of Christmas worlds, but a lot of them are fairly small. I do like just Speak Love just because it's so big. Specifically, I was wondering if there's like a Christmas song compilation thing. That is DMCA friendly. I'm going to assume this is DMCA friendly. I have no idea. I'm gonna have to test this, check on this after stream, see if I'm getting DMCA.
You don't do anything, just cuddling them.
Titties.
I'm trying not to make a sound because
I can't play with the titties. Aw.
I mean, if you want, I can make them bigger.
I can't play with them.
You can't play with the titties.
Yeah. I wanna play with the titties.
Okay, I can't play with them. It goes right through.
Yeah.
If you want, I can just keep bouncing.
It's fine, it's fine. It's fine. I'll bring my own titties. There we go. I got my own. Can play with my own titties now.
As long as Cutie does not switch into the other form, then I'm okay.
The other form? What do you mean?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
She made that form especially for me.
A substantial amount of
and
worry
knows how to
now.
get with me.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. All you want to know is why the New Year's was so laggy.
So
because
many
it's
things
huge.
I'm missing here. Like, what in the world?
The New Year's
Let's
was
just say Cutie
gigantic.
knows more.
There's a lot of stuff
Knows more about me than a
in
lot
that
of
world.
people do.
So,
Interesting.
it makes the world laggy. Although,
She knows more. She knows more about me than Flame.
although
I can kind of see that.
they tried to optimize the New Year's world as much as they could, but yeah, it's still gonna be fairly laggy, just because of how
Do not
much
worry
stuff
about
is
the
in
other
it.
form.
Do you have pictures of it or no?
I do.
Oh, okay. So
Although actually, I do need to ask you about that because,
Send me them.
well, partially
What?
because
send
I'm
me the picture.
testing out
Oh,
a slight
fucking hell.
recolor of this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it looks good when I wait, did I not update this properly? I thought I did.
I think this stuff is fine on YouTube.
Wait, hang on. Did I not update
it's
this
fine.
properly? Hang on.
That's fine.
It's not fine on Twitch.
Yeah, it's not fine on
can't
Twitch. It's
word
fine on
it.
YouTube.
Hang on, let me test something, chat.
Go figure one.
Cause something might be broken on that. Hang on. Does it look the same? It does look the same. Oh.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's the lighting of this wall. The processing lighting.
Probably mostly the lighting.
Yeah. The hair's supposed to look a little
Yeah,
different.
on the butt of this model says touch grass. It says grass.
Oh, I get it. Okay. I get it.
Do not complete the form, cutie.
It's
You know what
fine.
that does to me.
It's fine. It's fine. I won't. I won't.
I'm very interested to see
In
what
order
the
to
form
maintain my
is.
disguise.
I'm very interested in what the form is now, cutie.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry. It's okay,
I'm
bro.
guessing it is a not for stream.
Come on.
Oh, for
No, I
fuck's
can use
sake.
it for
Why
stream.
you gotta go dark skin? Fuck.
I can use it for stream. Nothing wrong with it. I'm not completing the form.
Yeah, thanks.
Are you okay, Maka? You okay?
No, because she made that for me. And only for me.
Although technically now it also
anytime
serves
that cutie's in
it serves another purpose as well.
Oh?
Mm.
What's the other purpose?
It's
Besides to get me fucking turned on.
it's the hang on. Okay, don't worry about that.
True. True. Alright.
Yeah. Don't worry about it, Jack. Don't worry about it, Jack.
What the fuck?
Don't worry about it. Oops. Oops. Oops, I accidentally punched the door. Oh.
Did you really just punch a door?
Yeah, this is a door.
Really, Cass?
Right here.
I mean, hey, every now and then I accidentally hit my own bed.
Now Cass is going dark skin. Fuck.
If I'm willing,
I don't know if
I would have a surprise too, but I don't want to change the avatar or risk giving myself more lag.
Hold on.
Good idea.
Hang on a second. I feel since it's supposed to be Christmas tree, we should be closer to the Christmas tree. It's actually a really nice Christmas tree. There. It feels like one of those things where the world creator will hide something in there, but doesn't seem like it. Oh, nothing. Yeah, I just want to have the Christmas tree figure. Hang on, let me drink more coffee. Where's my coffee? Excuse me. More coffee. Coffee time, everyone. Cream pie. Cheers.
Coffee time.
Yeah. Ah, god damn it. My wire's getting caught on my trackers. Let me put this further over. Yep. There we go. Aww. Ah, look at a little Hapu. A little Hapu mod up there. You're back. Welcome back, Chris. Welcome. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Shit.
Relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
Booba. Booba? Yeah, Booba.
Booba.
Who's Booba?
You know?
That's not helping, kitty. I'm watching your stream, your chat, you're doing that.
Oh. You know, actually, I'm thinking of whether or not I should buy the Death Stranding Director's Cut. What do you guys think? Recently, I got the base game for free, and apparently the Director's Cut upgrade is like just $5. I'm wondering whether I should stream it. You guys think you'll enjoy?
Maybe you could stream on Fansly if that's an option.
Nah, I wouldn't stream that on Fansly. People would, I mean, unless Death Stranding has some, you know, nice mods, I doubt there'll be anything I could do in a game on Fansly. That'll make it worth streaming on Fansly. Oh, I keep wanting to. Why can't I play with this? Why? Fix it. Fix it so I can play with this.
Hold on, I'm gonna see if I can find a model where you can't play with them. Hold on.
Is that a public model?
Good for you. Oh, wait. Oh, it's just like this, okay.
But I don't want to play with those boobs. I want to play with the other one's boobs. Oh. Gee, I don't feel like wearing shorts. Let me switch. There we go. There we go. This feels more like skirt.
Skirt.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to play with these boobs. Why can't I? Fix it. Fix it so I can play with boobs. These are really, really nice boobs. Oh my god.
I mean, I do have a friend of mine who's working on a different model.
I actually know the guy who made the base of that, I believe.
Yeah, it's what is it? Weebs say guy?
Yeah. Yeah,
Something
Weebs.
like that?
Yeah, actually no.
Yeah, Weebs.
Funny story, I was actually the one who got him into VRChat.
Really, Weebs the one that got you into VR?
No, I got him into VRChat.
Who?
Weeps.
Oh, really? I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Me and Eradika, a friend of mine. We were some of the first people he met in VRChat, and yeah. And that was I think about 2-3 years ago, give or take. And then now he's doing that.
Yeah, he's already has like a bunch of new models besides this one.
The boobs are so nice though.
Maybe I should buy one.
Well, if you want to, go for it.
He was technically...
Okay.
I can't remember if
I mean,
it was...
hey, I'm already gonna get a new model soon, so I might change out of this one.
I can't remember if it was for our anniversary stream or last Christmas, but it was here before. You guys have seen him on stream. I think it was our last anniversary stream. I think it was anniversary
Part
stream.
of Weeb's Discord. Yeah, Weeb has a Discord.
Oh wait, I can't play with your ears as well. Aww. What? How come I can play with your hair but not your ears? What? Fix it. It's just a fucking toggle. You just need to go into your Unity project and
I
go
mean,
to
I think the chain works. Hold on. I know the collar works. Collar works.
Yeah, the collar works. But I want a collar on your ears and your tits. Those are the most important parts.
Ears, what's your tits?
Yeah, that's true.
You can't even play with the butt.
I mean, technically, if I like sit down on somebody's face, they can see a lot more of the Abby.
The peepees.
Just saying.
I'm just watching Gas, trying to figure out their model. Like, what the fuck's going on?
The beepies can. Peepees. So many sexy cuties on screen. There's one over there, but I can't really show. What's happening over there? I'm a bit scared. But I suppose it's fine. Guess it's just being a little bit sus. Tiny bit sus.
A little bit
A
sus.
little bit sus.
Just a little. Tiny bit. Just tiny bit.
I was gonna say, I'm not sus. They have more clothes on than I did. And then
I know I'm hella sus, apparently.
Aww. Wait, is that the crazy taxi?
Yeah.
Aww.
This one actually does have a seat.
Yeah. I'm not gonna click it because I don't want to get motion sick.
No, it really doesn't give you that much motion sickness.
And anytime I feel like I have no control over my movement, I get motion sick.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm wearing more right now.
Fuck you.
Bye. Hold on, I know I have another one. Hold on, I got another froggy car. There you go.
Aww.
Then I can just... It plays music. Plays music. And I can actually play Coconut Mall. You probably have the sounds off, don't you?
No, I hear it.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Yeah. Terrible.
Good. I'm just chilling.
And now I can turn the...
I'm wearing more than you.
Hang on a second. Hang on, chat. Who's wearing more? Chat. Me or Cass? Who's wearing more? Who's wearing more?
I'm not sure wearing shorts. You're wearing a mini skirt.
Look at how much of my arms are covered. And my
Technically,
legs.
Cutie
I
is wearing
honestly
more.
nothing.
Who's wearing more? VRChat. I'm sure you guys agree I'm wearing more, right? I.
I've actually never tried the small one. Oh, geez.
I'm wearing more.
Okay, yeah, that we can't compete with that. That's just a full dress.
I can't compete with that. I got a girl model.
I gotta hide the riding motion a little bit, just in case.
Oh, Jesus.
Not even on
This is fine. Just trying to be a little safe. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Alright. This one reminds you of Ice Maze? What's Ice Maze? Is Ice Maze? Ice Maze? Yeah, yes, like Ice Maze? What? What's Ice Maze? What do you mean by Ice Maze?
No idea.
I assume you mean the little frog cart avatars, but if you're talking about the frog car avatars, Ice Maze? Eh? Ice Maze? My brain can't figure that shit out. I wonder where Numi is. Numi said he's gonna come and join us.
Numi?
Yeah. But then Numi went to take a
I
shower.
thought he was gonna come.
Yeah, he was gonna comb.
What do you think he's doing with this at the moment?
It was gonna go. My god.
But Numi said he was gonna be here. He was gonna comb here. He doesn't take that long to shower. This avatar is really tall. Like lanky tall.
I made it tall.
No, I don't mean in terms of like just the pure height. I mean proportion wise, it's so lanky. Like half the avatar's height is in its legs. Yeah, super tall. But I do like the shield, and that is a hoplite sphere.
Here. Cutie, you can now dance on it.
Sadly, I don't have a pole. I can't fit a pole in my room because there's a ceiling fan up there. Unfortunately. Wish I could, but I can't. Ceiling fans are really common around here.
Bow down to your goddess.
I think I might have to clear cafe before I get off. because of the mass avatars. Oh yeah, I tried to I tried to control how large or small my avatars are, but very few people actually control that shit. So yeah, a lot of avatars are massive.
By the way, Cutie,
Oh,
do you want
my.
to look at my bio? Real quick. My bio.
Okay. Hang on. I need to figure out how to get to your bio. How the hell do I
Just
get?
click on me.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
And then go to my profile.
Trying to figure out how to get to your profile. Where the hell is the profile button? There it is. What am I looking for?
The last one.
Okay, I see that. Is that a recent change? Is that a recent change?
Where'd cats go?
Pretty much.
Oh.
Pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because literally Kai-chan was like torturing me in another world with colors.
I'm trying to decide if that's safe
Plus
to
she even
show.
Plus she even had a quest. Was it a quest friendly Abby of her Abby.
I want to show you guys
Like a
what
dragon.
I'm looking at, but
It's too much.
I mean, technically everything is covered, question mark, but that's all covered.
My God,
I don't think I can show you guys what I'm looking at. Sadly, I'm sorry. Oh fuck. Oh, there you go. Well, do you crash out, Marks? You can always join back if you want. I'll still be here. Excuse me. Sorry. Oh, this is fine. This avatar is fine. This is fine, I'm fine. Look, chat. Hot dragon go. Hello?
There's a no man eye.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Huge, massive dragon go.
Yeah. Yeah, the dragon mommy over here.
You think it might not, so great. Alright, no problem, Marks. No problem. Take care of your computer. Be nice to your computer. Don't be like... Who did I talk to, not too long ago? Someone who... I remember talking computers with someone not too long ago, and... I think it was Kagu. Right, Kagu. And Kagu...
Numi's here.
Oh, we're all here, Numi. But it was like, right, Kagu. I talked with Kagu a couple of weeks ago about computers. Kagu He really abuses his computer. Poor computer. I got this place. He opened, I think, what, 4 emulator windows for phone. I think it was BlueStacks or something. He opened 4 windows and VRChat at the same time, and he says it sounds like his computer is about to launch into space or something because the fans are struggling to keep up. And I was like, oh my god.
That just reminds me of what is it? I'm sure you know Manus, right?
Hmm?
Yeah, I still remember where Manus was playing VRChat and Cookie Clicker at the same time.
Oh, well, Cookie Clicker doesn't...
Why is he so obsessed with that game?
It's
I don't know.
It's an addiction. Manus is addicted, that's why.
I mean, I'm willing to try it, but I don't know if I would go that far.
Although, it wasn't just in oh, hi. Hi. Hello.
There we go.
I'm here.
Hi.
Hi. Hello.
Are you drunk yet?
Not yet. Not yet.
Surprisingly.
Oh.
I haven't drank that much
Yeah.
because people haven't been requesting hydrates.
Oh. The hydrate more. I was eating mama.
Maka left.
Yep.
Oh,
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened.
Okay. I can't be the only one who looks at this avatar and... Hang on, stand here. I can't be the only one who looks at this avatar and I'm like, is that skin? But it's not. It's technically it's clothing. But you're so pale and it almost looks like that is like skin, but it's not. That's skin. That's clothing. That's why I kind of like looked at it and I was like, and I was standing over here and I was like, look at it, and I was like, look at it again, and I was like, okay, it's safe.
Yeah, not going, not safe. You know, not safe for strict.
I appreciate it. This computer isn't purpose gaming, but it's all like some master runs VRC mostly fine. The fact that it can run VRC at all means it's already decent. Because this computer is this game is unoptimized. Piece of shit. No me. Is this the avatar you're gonna use to replace the discard stuff?
No.
No.
Wow.
Making me very...
I was thinking about it.
Do you know
But then,
Help.
I still don't think it fits me that well. I like the avatar mainly for this.
Those are the best.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What was it?
Mainly for the ass. That's what tempted me to buy it. But then I found out that I only like to look at it, but I don't like to use it.
Oh. So.
So I wasted that.
I thought we were done.
So what?
Already.
What? Any particular avatar
There's a
you
bunch of
want to use?
Maybe the God Valk.
Oh yeah, yeah, you use that a lot. That one feels very much like you.
Yeah.
Also top there. I don't know how I managed that.
Yes.
Big gun.
Huh?
I can't. You have to
I'm surprised you didn't even see it,
I can't see the jiggle.
You can see what?
What?
Gotcha, I'm like hogging me.
That's how everything.
Yeah, it's important.
Because literally I told her like, I asked Kaichan like, Kaichan, are you bouncing on me? And she literally goes like,
He just like goes up to me like very close.
Perfect. Now we just send it later and then they'll be like, what? What the fuck? Perfect.
I'm gonna head off, Mark. Sorry. Alright. Thanks for stopping by. You mentioned that you are moving, right? So, good luck with your move. Hope everything goes smoothly. I'm gonna keep the star, the Christmas tree star in the shot.
Ah, I see. So you want me to go out and touch some grass, yeah? I got you. Yeah, I'm touching some grass.
Is this all the time?
The white grass on it? It is.
Yeah.
Another thing that Kagu does
Can't
is
tell whether you're
he
being wholesome or sus. Kai-chan, I really can't tell.
Awesome. Nice. Let me show you something.
Going
you love.
Kai-chan. Sus.
Yeah, I can't tell whether she's being sus or not.
Knowing Kai-chan, whenever she smells like that, sus. It's always sus.
It's always sus.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like whenever she's around me, she's always sus.
Mm. Mm. Giant dragon mommy. Mm. Mm.
She's a dragon mom.
Mm. Yeah, another thing that Kagu likes to do is he likes to run Monster Hunter and fucking RuneScape and Unity and Blender at the same time, and then he wonders why his computer's lagging. Silly Kaku. Hang on, let me drink more. Am I out of coffee?
No, really, tell me, I know.
I still have some coffee left. Last coffee for the night. Goodbye, everyone. Cheers.
Come on, tell me. Tell me.
Oh.
Tell me.
Well, I'm still thirsty, so
Tell me.
I'm gonna drink water as well. I'm gonna stay hydrated, chat. Especially if you guys are drinking with me.
Mommy. Ah.
What that Stewie line?
Kai-chan is like, yeah.
Fucking Family Guy. I don't understand why people like Family Guy. It's just cringe.
Probably because of like. Probably because of its like different types of like humor, maybe. You don't have different really.
Diane. I
You
grew
really
up.
don't have to.
Right, then again, I grew up on South Park, so South Park already took the slot that I guess Family Guy would feel.
There you go, Maka doing.
Maka's bang. Hang on a second. What's going on here? What's going on here? Someone's hiding. It's
What do you want to
Mitchell.
tell me in DMs?
The other Mitchell Lazo.
You can tell me in DMs.
Oh. Also, there's something sus happening in here. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, this.
Nothing sus is happening.
We're just touching some grass.
Don't worry, nothing.
The grass is here.
I like how the wood here perfectly like
block the camera.
centers you as if you have nothing on. Kinda hot.
Something sus going on over there. Huh? What are you guys doing?
See what I mean?
Wait, why are you leaving me out of it? Why? Why are you guys leaving me out of it? I want to join.
Want to join
Why?
the hussy?
Let me in.
Yeah, you shouldn't join this hussy when you're streaming.
Let me in. I want in.
Oh wow, look at this.
Where's the camera? I don't want to stand inside it. Would be bad.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there. Cutie.
Hey, Jen.
How's your stream going?
Oh, it's going okay. A nice chill eggnog drinking stream. Everyone's being chill right now.
Eggnog, yo, give me some.
Yeah,
like eggnog.
It's homemade eggnog. None of the store-bought stuff because I can't even find store-bought stuff here. I had to make my own. I actually.
Hey, what's that?
What? Oh. Oh. Yeah, I actually had to. I went around actually to try to find store-bought eggnog, and I went to like several different like alcohol places, and I couldn't find it. None. Nobody even knew what the hell I was talking about. So I was like, fine, fine. I'll have to make my own. Fine.
So it's like in any store over here. Any kind of store that also sells alcohol.
Yeah, apparently eggnog is just not something that exists here, so. So yeah, I had to make my own, but on the flip side, I've heard people say that homemade eggnog is always better than store-bought, so yeah.
I don't even know how to make it, so did you make it yourself?
Yep.
Nice, man.
I had to look up the ingredients and learn how to make it. Oh.
What's that group you're in? Flame Nation.
Yeah, yeah, Flame
I like my group. My group is nice.
But you're not?
Battery.
Battery Wi-Fi? Is that the group?
Yeah. It's just the battery. It's so cool. Pretty smart.
Hang on, I need to go and say hi to.
Call it.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
I heard you're not drunk yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, we need to fix that.
Not yet. Actually, how much eggnog have I actually drank?
Oh my god, have you ever seen that meme?
Oh wow, just half done.
Right there, damn.
So I drank just under half of my jar of eggnog, apparently.
Or just
Yeah, eggnog.
Jojo.
Drink one with me.
I will beat the shit out of both of you, I swear.
Oh well.
I mean, you seem to beat the shit out of you, but
time for my
she's just
eggnog.
gonna put a collar on me again.
Eggnog. Yes. Delicious eggnog. Clean for everyone. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oops. Ah, hang on. Accidentally spilled some of it. Some eggnog
Man, I wish I was in the stream.
dripping down my neck right now. Hang on. Let me just make sure I don't spill too much of this stuff, especially on the carpet.
And that was they were kneeling down.
Oh, yes, it does do the same thing.
Okay. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I didn't spill too much eggnog. It's fine.
I'm right here. I mean, what?
No.
Oh God. Sorry, chat. I didn't spill that much eggnog on me. It's just a little bit of eggnog. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Well, where though?
Should I clean you? Should I clean you up? You know.
Sure.
Gotta go.
Wait, Maka, hang on. Hang on. Let me wipe away all the eggnog. There we go.
It's like 4.
Hang on a second.
4 a.m.
Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Where the hell is the... Hang on. Hang on. Hang on. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. I'm gonna give you guys some good Christmas music. Oh? What? What? Wait, where'd that come from? Eh? What? Okay, hang on, let me get this going. No, let me see how this works. Use laser pointer focus. Input, okay. Okay, it's working. Turn on world audio, guys. Especially you, Maka. Turn on world audio. Very next day, gave it away. Yes, yeah.
Maka, what's your TikTok? TikTok again?
Give it to someone special.
Because why not?
Give it a heart, and the very next day, gave it away.
Oh, okay.
I gave it to someone special. You have what audio on?
No, I don't.
No.
Turn it on. Do it. Do it. Do it. Turn on what
I
audio?
don't have audio on because
I have full audio on. Oh no. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
World audio.
No. That is Toad saying that. No. I'm good.
I don't think I can hear it though.
God, no.
I don't know lyrics.
I don't know. I just don't really like the coding.
I am. Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, and the very next day, you gave it away. This year, to very birthday, I give it to someone special. Last Christmas, I gave you my heart.
Just
Gave it away.
Hey, sounds a lot better than Mariah Carey version. It's Christmas. I gave you my heart. But the very next day, you gave it away.
Okay, apparently I cannot find out. Let's find out Discord.
Oh, by the way, guys, if this causes the stream to be blocked, let me know. Let me know, and I will. I'll immediately stop it. Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, and the very next day, you gave it away. Today's year, to save it with you. Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, and the very next day, you gave it away.
Was it Flame or was it Cutie just usually called Flame?
I gave it to someone special.
It was probably.
I don't want to get
Okay, I'm scared to scream that because people are trying to sleep, so yeah, I'm not gonna scream it. Sure.
I feel like
He's a hero.
I really like your actually.
What was that about me and Flame?
Like Goldball tempted me to buy Goldball.
I was trying. I couldn't remember who introduced the toad.
I like using Gold phone. I think
Toad singing. Was it you to Flame or Flame
Yes,
to you?
me to Flame.
Oh Jesus. Okay.
Yep, this is it. Found it. Alright. I found Maka singing. Like IRL Maka.
Actually, hang on. I need to go to the washroom. I'll be right back.
I told Flame that you were blasting that shit, and Flame's like, "Go full send, do it." I was like, "No."
I mean, I would do it if, but sadly, people are sleeping in the same house, so I can't scream as much as I would like to. Oh yeah, I need to go to the washroom. Yeah, bye, Chan. I've only been streaming for 2 hours. Okay. I'm not drunk yet, but yeah, I need to go to the washroom. Yeah, bye. Bye.
I'm better off doing Mr. Liver walk than do the troll.
I like long hair.
Toad sing.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna download it. Hold on.
like funk music on.
Like an armor piece. It looks so weird from above when it goes with the beauty and goes into the wide.
Oh, okay. Hello, Cody.
Yeah, that's better.
Your ass looks huge.
So what if I add this?
That's fine.
What about just
With
this?
the red
A butt
part.
cheek?
Yeah,
What?
but there. It just looks kind of
think-
weird when it moves with it.
I don't know. I think without it, it looks like kind of empty. Like your whole waist
Okay.
is like very open. What?
Refillable.
Oh my god, that one.
Don't mind me, I'm just dancing right here.
It's missing a root tattoo, that's fine.
A wound tattoo.
I don't need it. Aren't you desuctivus?
Wow.
You should have a wound tattoo.
Hi,
You
Jack.
can add a wound tattoo to this.
I have graduated from being a succubus. I'm ascended.
Graduated.
I'm ascension. Ascended into a god. That's why I'm god. You're the now.
Sure.
Oh,
Let's go back to like the OG just for Christmas.
I mean,
I only want at least
I
on
don't got no
Christmas.
OGs.
Oh, someone is requesting a hydrate up. Let me get the hydrate. Where? Hang on. Where's my... Where is my eggnog? Oh yeah. Cream pie. Yep. Got the eggnog here. Sunshine cream pie. Cheers. Actually, wait, no, that's the wrong cup. Fuck. Hang on. Whoops. I almost drank on the wrong cup. Hang on. Okay, yeah. Cream pie. Cheers.
I'm actually gonna swap the tongue on this one.
You want to swap the tongue? I don't even know how to swap tongue. I don't like the new avatars.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Good thing I noticed that I was holding the wrong cup. I need to refill my glass, by the way.
If you
Give me a
just take
second.
out your tongue,
Give me a second.
yeah, then just swap them around over and over.
That's not swapping.
Stay right there. I take care of my eggnog.
I still don't like how the hands look. Doesn't feel right.
See this?
I need to make sure I do this properly. Hang on.
What? Why is the camera on our ass?
Oh, that's where it's meant to be.
Because why not?
Exactly.
Right.
Let's see if I can.
Because you have a nice ass.
I think it worked.
Okay. Gonna cover up the. There we go.
Wow.
This can come back up here. There we go.
Why is
Right.
this?
Wow.
Why?
Why?
What?
Why?
Alright, I'm gonna start blasting music even though my family's gonna hate this.
Call it 4K. Come on, do something. Oh, perfect.
Eyes and ass. Yeah, I know, right? Look at it. Look at it.
What is this actually?
Yep.
Mm.
Sus.
Nice ass. I just realized something. Fuck!
What did you
I
do?
forgot to turn on camera smoothing. Fuck! I'm sorry, chat. I'm sorry.
Smoothing.
I forgot to turn on camera smoothing. Fuck! I'm sorry. 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 You guys have been shaken all around and stuff. I'm so supposed to turn on camera smoothing. I'm sorry. Actually, hang on. What? Oh, okay. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. No, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry, chat. Oh my. Boomy's channel? Who's Boomy?
Doomy?
Doomy? You mean Doomy? Or is there someone else named Boomy? Is there a person named Boomy?
No anyone named Doomy. Copyright. That's good. Doomy.
Super Blimp. Super Blimp? I don't think I know anyone named Super Blimp. Does anyone know anyone named Super Blimp? Super Blimp.
I don't know.
No, I don't think we know that person. Someone named Boomy. Oh, okay. We know someone named Doomsday Maverick whom we call Doomy. So hang on.
Some people call Doomy.
Who? I'm seeing you again.
Doomsday Maverick?
Yeah, Doomsday. Doomsday Maverick. Doomy. The VRChat singer.
Doomy. Yeah.
Apparently...
I heard of him, I haven't met him.
I'm sad.
Yeah.
I am...
Apparently there's also someone named Boomy. Super Blimp. Apparently... Yeah, but I've never heard of him. Like there's Boomy. There's Boomy. Do lots of this.
9.
Does Boomy like to give you guys this?
Avatar inspecting.
Just inspecting the avatar.
Numi just shaking the booty.
Yes.
Yes.
Because Numi's a good boy.
The avatar.
Oh, I'm a good man. What?
He's a good girl.
Can inspect.
What?
That avatar too.
That too.
Oh, that's alright. Oh, the new avatar.
Yeah. Those are very nice pants actually. Pants are quite nice.
Yeah, it is. I like the design of it a lot, actually. I think if I use it, I would like it to be black, like the belts. Maybe the belt. It's like off-white, you know, black and white. Yeah, I want like black and white version.
Oh.
But somebody did me a black and white version. I saw it in the video.
I can do that for you. Just turn off saturation to 0. And then it just goes black and white. That's it.
He wears
Oh, you don't even
giant
need to edit
boob
that.
avatars. Oh, okay.
No, it's
Giant.
I'm gonna
I
edit
mean,
the texture,
how large is
but I'm
large?
just gonna
Because
reduce
I've seen a
color
couple of VRChat streamers whose tits are gigantic. Like if say your body was this size, the tits would be this large. There's one streamer, I believe she's an exotic dancer, but yeah, her tits are this large, and it's like not exactly my thing.
Leshy?
Yeah, Leshy. Yeah, Leshy. Unwrap the present. Oh.
Physics. Holy shit. I can never go back to 12 hours job while standing. No more. What?
Wouldn't mind unwrapping this present.
No, 12 hours too much. Standing still for 1 hour.
So I can't show you guys too much of this.
I will die.
My lord, Leshy's a dummy, mommy, and a robot. Yeah, Leshy is gigantic. Like seriously
No,
gigantic.
manager, that's the same. You do more as a manager.
Manager sits down and
No.
I tell my assistant to go do things for me all the time. I'm joking, I make my assistant sit with me.
How do they see? How do they see it, Raimi? Look down.
Can you do me a favor?
We get used to it. No, I'm just bad. You got banned from Discord server breaking one rule. Oh? Was it a serious rule? Or just a random rule?
There's a
Who's your
recommendation.
biggest fan?
I mean, aren't you too? I mean, to be fair, I have seen her played, what is it, Persona 5.
Oh, that? That's the point you can go in.
You don't know?
Like,
That was a major mistake, huh? That's unfortunate.
like smug?
Not really,
Sorry,
Maka.
Maka.
I've seen her play, Persona 5.
Persona?
So have I.
Full-on avatar.
I've been
Yeah,
tempted
Persona.
to
Fine.
get
Fine,
Persona actually.
Wait, what?
Because of... Because they didn't
Which
release on
one?
PC.
Which one?
Die, bro.
Well, number 5, the latest one. Persona 5 Royal, was it? On PC?
Yeah. So far from me, from what I've seen, thanks to Kai-chan,
Universal.
it looks like a really good game.
Oh, I know it's good. It's just that I'm not sure if I want to get it and devote all the time it takes to finish it, because if I were to get it and stream it, it's gonna take me probably an entire year to finish it. Unless I do like
Yeah, I
grinding
mean,
off stream.
It is like a pretty, it's like a very like popular like turn-based RPG. So I mean, yeah.
I do know friends who really enjoyed
Who play that? Oh, who enjoy it? Okay.
Yeah. Well, play it,
yeah,
enjoy
no,
it.
Maka really enjoys you.
Oh.
So you wanna charge your phone?
Charge my phone.
Someone has my tail.
Hey.
That's a very nice taste.
It was very nice too.
You'll
My
have to
phone
try
charger
that.
just this is that.
Oh, I'm glad you like it.
This is that charger.
Oh, we could see him melting. Oh.
What kind of outlet is that anyway?
It's a USB-C.
I think.
Yeah, USB-C.
Oh wow, literally same here. Hey, same here.
Slightly stylized USB-C.
It's tasty as that minus my phone.
I think it's still.
Oh, I know that.
Same here.
I know that Harpy avatar.
You're like 5,000.
That's a really good Harpy avatar.
330 from.
Happy wings.
Yeah,
High feathers.
that's where I got my wings from. They're really, really nice Harpy avatar. Really adorable.
Did we wait?
Cute, yeah. I technically have the little chibi version, but I never uploaded it. I've been tempted to upload the chibi version, but I feel like if I were to do so, I'd have to take the time to, you know, customize it with my signature ear and horn and stuff, and it's too much trouble.
I know you have a Padaru. I know that.
Sadly, I need to go.
Beauty, I know you have a Padaru.
Yeah, I do have a Padaru. You have to go? Okay, sorry.
I know that.
There's family over at the moment.
What was that?
Family over at the moment.
Oh, family? Hi. Hope you have a good time with your family. Thanks for coming.
I'll be a fun on the street.
Okay, now we can hear you.
So this is one of the oldest guys.
Oh, there we go, there we
That's
go.
the newest.
Yeah.
Does that make you the grandma?
Yeah, the VRChat bug. Every time you launch VRChat, you have to go into your audio settings and reset your mic. Even though it's says that
Normal?
yeah, even though your mic is on the right mic, it's not actually. You have to go into Audacity and click on the damn thing. Damn it,
I'm 22.
it's annoying. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is
So I'm
the
guessing you're a harpy enjoyer as well? Let me get a better one. There we go.
Oh, I wanted to show chat the adorable little harpy.
What about you?
Wow.
Yeah. I changed the colors into this, so it looks like I'm in a maid outfit.
No?
It's nice. I like it. Is this one of the? Is this newer or older than the? It's older than
It's
the.
actually.
I don't know.
I think it's an older one because the one that I got, because the one that I got, the one that I originally used, the one that I used when we the first one I used was also made by the same person. That was more recent than this one, but yeah, I guess those two are old. They're the only public ones I could find. I really like yours though.
Wait, this one's public?
Yeah, this one and the other harpy I had are public. I know the creator of them. They're a great friend of mine.
Oh, I didn't know that these avatars could be uploaded publicly. Oh.
What? I don't crash!
Oh.
Hmm.
Oh.
What about yours? Is yours private or public?
Private. Something I.
Yeah.
Something I
that's
could
right.
bash.
Listen.
I don't think they
hear
don't
it?
send me the file.
Aw.
I just need a border.
Little chirping noises.
Yeah, apparently it's leaked already. Someone leaked it.
Oh my god, I totally forgot you had a
Like on the
harpy.
internet.
Abby.
Not even like Discord. It's
I
just
forgot.
Harpies are a good monster girl, but the best one is a hellhound because they're underrated.
But I think there's so many people actually.
True.
There are a lot of them.
That and they also
I
protect
mean,
you.
why not slime girls? Why not them?
Before I change the colors myself.
And
Fair enough.
I'm an anatomically correct male harpy because male birds are usually smaller.
Like they fixed things that they want to fix themselves. I don't like the texture on the.
Not always, but male birds are usually smaller. Especially if they're like predator
I was gonna
birds.
make a gay joke, but I can't. I was about to make
That's
a gay joke,
scary.
but I didn't even know what to say.
Imagine being gay.
Sexual.
I think it's more.
How bisexual.
Alright, cutie, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go.
Now, what's the problem for this avatar?
Yeah, it was nice seeing you though.
It's that thing
Friends with
I
Kai,
showed last time.
by the way.
Yeah.
It's not okay.
Kai was here. Wait, is Kai? Has Kai?
Yeah, she was.
even know
She
why.
was here, but she left.
Oh.
Funny enough, I
That's
came
fine,
here
fine.
because of them.
Well,
I wanted
other
to
than
see
that,
how
what
they were
else?
doing. Guess I won't see them for a good otherwise. Take care.
I don't know if she's still online or not, but Kai was here just now.
To me, if that thing is fixed,
Yeah.
I'll be
I
satisfied.
see the hydrate.
I don't
on right
think
now.
anything else wrong.
She's still on right now.
I don't see
I might be able to
She's still
chase
on.
after.
She's just in a different world.
Maybe go chase after Kai if you're looking for Kai. Okay,
But
I'm going to get the hydrate.
Your trigger light up. Like a beat.
Yes, my hydrate. Here's the hydrate, Slamchan.
2 necklace pieces.
Bye bye.
Yep.
So this is the default one.
Cheers.
What's another half decent monster?
Oh, wait.
Cheers.
Yeah, let me get in an oldie but a goodie.
A hellhound.
Kinja's
I got you
hellhound.
some, just a little bit of food.
Oh.
Glasses on this avatar is much nicer.
Thank you.
Wait, is that?
Yeah, I really want
No
to.
swallow.
I really want to eat fondue one day. It's one of those foods that. Yeah, I've never had fondue. Fondue.
Damn.
Fondue is not a type of food that we have.
Bunny?
Yeah.
On Twitter?
Huh. Wait, is yours a bunny?
Is it?
No, you don't have me shown them.
Okay. That was about to say. It would be
Because-
kind of ironic
yeah,
because like my actual nickname is like a bunny. It translates to bunny.
No, here I have this.
Oh, you have a bunny suit.
Close enough. Close enough.
What about Crystal?
I'm gonna turn this way.
The resolution.
Yeah, let me. I need to get my
more bunny.
another hydrate. See? There we go. You see the hydrate, Louis? Bye. Cheers, everyone.
Wait.
What you say?
No. It's not the PC.
Wait.
It's my eye.
I can grab your tail from anywhere. Jeez.
And we'll get you VR lens.
No one.
I mean,
I just need to wear my
Tail.
I'd love to plug myself in there. If you know what I mean.
I get what you mean.
And then we'll
As the saying goes, anything could be a dildo. Hey, anything could be a dildo as long as you're brave enough.
I have a feeling that this isn't supposed to be a dildo though, because it's quite
No.
the shape
No,
is
no. I said I was gonna plug myself in, not I'm gonna plug that in.
I think I found a problem.
That's what I'm trying to say. Anything could be a dildo as long as you're brave enough.
Over time.
Sometimes Carhartt please don't
Why do you have
anyways.
to be brave for me?
Depends on where the source materials are though. In my case, my source material is D&D, because technically mere harpies exists in D&D.
That is true, but they are kind of rare, just like male sirens. Wait, D&D?
Yeah, very rare. But
Oh, D&D player, hell yeah!
On his spacebar, the far left is
Yeah.
broken. So when
No, you want to hear a
on
funny
the
D&D
far
thing?
left, it gets stuck
I really
downwards
wanna
and I
play
can't
again.
actually
Same! I don't have anybody to play with, that's the issue.
I have a
Everyone
new
kinda
keyboard.
left. I didn't want to play anymore.
Never
Get
used
you a new keyboard.
Let me play with
Oh, I
you.
need to...
oh god, hang on.
Okay, we should also play D&D together.
Yeah! Oh, you need to see my robe that I accidentally... No,
You know how
listen to
double
This keyboard broke.
Anyway.
Why not? Thank you for subscribing. Welcome to our Christmas stream.
I need a keyboard real quick.
Welcome.
So I bought
How's it
one.
going?
human.
Screw
And then I
fondue.
came
You like
back.
fondant?
It's like,
Fondant? What's
I
fondant?
don't like the new keyboard that
Hang on, is fondant actually a thing, or were you making a fondant joke?
I just don't like it. It feels
Let me look this up.
to use,
Is
and I keep
is
pressing the
fondant
wrong button
actually a
lot of
thing?
the time. And I was like,
different layout. But,
yeah, and I felt really. Like, I liked my old keyboard too much. I went back and I plugged it back, and it somehow fixed it.
Chocolate fondant. Oh, it is a thing.
And I chucked the
A-
new keyboard away.
A cake?
Oh.
Oh,
Butter on the dog.
And the new keyboard
fondant
is
slice
came
cake.
back.
Hang on, let me show you guys what this is.
What's this thing?
so new PC, new keyboard, and new VR lens.
What?
I love Dragon.
What else?
Oh, yes.
Dragon.
New router, because
I
your
still
router
didn't
now
find
gets
that Dragon Girl avatar that I was trying to find. And nobody
We'll
will
get
tell
you a
me
portable
who's
air
it from.
conditioning unit.
Wait, Dragon Girl?
Yeah, fondant. Yeah, it's some kind of cake. Oh, that actually looks good.
A lot of money that I don't have or need or use.
Wax are meant to go in all holes. I mean, I suppose you can plug me in, but try to make sure I don't break the hole of all.
Bye, cake. Bye.
Maybe
I hope I don't. Something tells me I might lag you guys.
Excuse me.
Out a little bit, I'm so sorry.
Get a phone.
Sorry, clear my throat.
No.
Amazing on cakes and desserts. Type of frosting used to sculpt cakes. Interesting. So, fondant is specifically the frosting.
If I get barely
Oh, oh, fondant cake slice.
Let's find out if you play
I don't play.
I wonder if I've ever had them. Probably not.
Wait, didn't it say
But-
if you have the 1 hertz and you're not
I see
playing on
things like
1
chocolate fondant. This looks so good.
I'm not gonna say Genshin because I know Genshin, but that would be an obvious pick.
Oh, this actually looks really
Didn't it say
nice.
if you have 1.4 hertz monitor and
Oh, that looks so good.
you'll be scared.
So good. Ooh, I wanna try that. That's fine. Maybe I'll look this up to see if I can find it anywhere around here.
I know League of Legends. I don't play it that much.
It's like
No,
the
I
only
don't.
competitive game I play.
Hi Lear, welcome.
Imagine you went
Welcome Lear.
Yo,
Merry Christmas. Oh, if anyone wasn't around earlier, Merry Christmas chat. Welcome, welcome. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone's having a good Christmas and New Year so far. Also, someone else here. You can say hi too. See you there?
There's something about
me, even though
Yeah.
my PC hurts me a lot.
I didn't play.
It's a little cat hapu. A little super tiny cat hapu.
I didn't play competitive game.
Yeah. Welcome. Merry Christmas.
Depending
Hope
on
you have a
the
Happy
day.
New Year. Yeah. It's kind of hard for me to get down here
My
and
way is on a reading position.
if it's because of how small you are, but
Reading
yeah.
That actually. Jeez, I really don't have any cool avatars with the exception of one, but that family of these are.
Cool. And where does camera need to be? The camera needs to be here. Right now. Booba.
Why are you in the school?
Why am I what?
In the school?
In the school?
Oh, you were in the school. Okay, never mind. That's just when you have your
What?
desktop pulled up. Okay, I see.
Huh?
Boop.
On stream.
Wait, stream?
In school?
Yeah. The background was, I think, school.
Oh no, it wasn't school. It's not school, it's a bedroom. It's not.
Sounds familiar.
It's a bedroom thing, don't worry about it. Just a little background. Huh?
Don't worry. Nah, just like patting your back.
Rub the belly. Oh, the eggnog. Rub the belly. Oh.
Boop.
Oops. I spilled some eggnog on
Hold
myself.
up, wait.
I know.
Oh no.
Whatever should we do?
Also, I see.
Two cute fanboys.
I have to hydrate again. Let me put that there and put that there.
Oh yeah. Cheers.
Let me get my. Where's my eggnog?
Eggnog.
Wrong cup.
Wait, are you actually going to? Are you doing what I think you're gonna do?
Drink it? Yes.
Drink the eggnog?
Okay. No. Wait, no, I'm just confusing myself. Never mind. Just do what you were gonna do. I'm sorry. I'm just look, this happens too much. I overthink a lot of stuff.
Game for
Now
everyone.
I'm curious what you thought.
Cheers.
They would do.
Because you said earlier, oops, this femboy spilled eggnog over himself. And I thought you were gonna get eggnog and accidentally spill yourself in real life. Accidentally in quotation marks.
Accidentally on purpose. Listen. I work hard to make this eggnog. I'm not gonna waste it intentionally like that.
You're not gonna do it for a
Reading
bit.
suits?
Yeah, no.
What? I want to clean the
I mean, I
eggnog
did
up.
spill a
Hey,
tiny
is
bit
that
of eggnog, just like a little
Wait a
drop of
second.
eggnog down my neck earlier, but that was
I know a
like,
rat. I
That
know
was just an
a
accident.
wrath. Is that the wrath I know? Hmm. I wonder.
Wrath breeding? This is... Did you recognize the breeding suit?
I want to make sure I got everything. There we go. There we go. Is this?
Oh. Oh, the eggnog's starting to hit me. Oh.
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 Why does it do that? Does it gain sentience? Crazy.
Huh?
That the actor gains sentience?
Well, the eggnog's inside me now. And it's... I can feel it spreading.
Hey, yo.
All that white stuff is inside of you now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So nice and warm.
You should get filled up some more though.
Exactly. Exactly. You should fill it up and give it to the both of us.
Oh.
Wait, what?
What? What?
I was talking about filling up.
Oh no, okay, I'm just joking with this one. What I said after that was like, hey, you should give it to... Hey, you should... No. Fuck, I forgot the word. You got it? You got what I meant?
Sure.
Okay, that's good.
You want some bath water?
If my game doesn't lag, that would be...
100% unalive people. You can always use an optimized avatar. In fact, I have an optimized avatar ready to go.
Not in terms of alcohol, but in terms of the...
Super optimized.
Drunk Archie on fence.
Also, by the way, I like the cool shift in voice. Reminds me of some... It's almost similar to mine, but it's not good. Well, kind of.
Yours is nicer than mine.
I mean, you're doing great.
Thank you. I think yours is nice too. Boop, boop.
Hang on. Someone eating another hydrate cell. Hang on. Need to hydrate. Where's my eggnog? Here it is. Merry Christmas, everyone. Bye.
Merry Chrysler.
Cheers.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Chrysler.
Except you. You've been a cunt.
Well, good. I
Depending
love
on-
how I could just mess with the tail. I love it.
Hey, there's another drink up. They want you to keep drinking. Unless it's the one you just did.
Yeah.
That was the one I just did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up to you.
So
man.
wait, just to double clarify, you were at... So wait, just to double clarify, you were at streaming? Like
Yeah.
actually streaming?
Yeah. It's a Christmas stream.
And you just... so you just ended it?
No, I'm still going.
Oh, okay. Thought you ended it for a hot minute.
No. Still going. I am thinking of cutting off my eggnog. Well, I mean, I'm gonna finish this glass of eggnog, and I'll see how I feel. After, and I might cut off the eggnog. And once I cut out the eggnog, then I'll end. But
Alcohol?
oh yeah, of course, of course.
Where do I plug this in?
Normally into a wall socket.
I mean, I don't know much about...
What?
I mean, I don't know much about
This?
eggnog.
We don't put this in the wall socket. This is for charging something.
No, it's to charge you.
Chunk on fancy. I don't know if I'll be able to
No,
do
he's not. He's not
fancy if I'm drunk.
He's not. He's not live. You've been bamboozled.
Hmm?
I've checked.
Hmm? Where were you checking?
What? Oh.
Hmm?
Well, they said drunk artsy on fancy, you know.
Hmm.
Oh, you mean you?
Hmm.
I'm
Smart. Very smart.
I heard it did. I thought of someone else.
Did I
Anyway.
say arty or artsy? I might have actually said artsy.
Yeah,
Oops.
That's why I looked.
I might have actually said artsy. I'm sorry.
I think my head was just somewhere else.
Nah, more than likely I accidentally said artsy. Because I'm getting drunk.
But
And
that tells me that I can also find an arty.
hello?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so I'm switching back to my standard avatar with all the bells and whistles.
Oh wait, no, I'll be late for that. I'll be.
Fluffy.
Stop motion animation with
It's a fluffy cutie.
peppermint cat? I don't know what that is. Oh,
All the cuttles.
mama.
Oh, the cuddles. Oh, the cuddles. Wait. Oh, the feathers don't have collision. I just noticed it.
Do they not?
No, they don't actually. The public ones I had actually had collision.
I don't remember if I turned on or off collision. I think I turned it
They
off.
do. No, they do have it. Oh,
They do?
Wait, no. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay. This is this is something I had to do. The bones at the end of the wing don't have collision, but the bones over here, in the middle and closer to the shoulder have collision.
Let me see really.
There's a reason why
Try
I did
mine.
that. It does have it a little, but it's hard to find it.
Yeah. Let me. I think this way's easier.
This model,
Fine.
let me put away my wings. There we go. It's a bit hard to find because the bone for this is somewhere here. Yeah, there was a problem that I discovered with regards to this wings and the way it's implemented. If I did not disable collision on specifically the feathers at the end, whenever I did stuff with my controller, I would just constantly be grabbing the dynamic bone, the fist bone at the end of the wing. So yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes
That's why-
sense. All right.
Yeah, so I had to disable collision on the end feathers, but not the feathers like further up the wing. So yeah, I don't know if the fishbone feature now granted the ability to add add standard bones and well, not bones, colliders to the list of exclusions, but I haven't checked it recently. So yeah, you hear me too? Okay, I'll check it later. Oh, I see titties. Which means I also need to have titties. kitties. Also, I can see your menu here. I'm not sure if
this is a quest avatar.
Yeah, I don't know what this is, but
do.
it's some kind of, it's a fancy thing. Oh. Ah, that's really fancy for a quest avatar. Oh, that's cool that someone managed to figure out how to do that on a quest savvy.
Hold on. Let me get straight really quickly, but even though I'm not straight. But I can also use the 3D wheel. I can also use the 3D wheel as well.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go.
You're going already? You didn't even drink with me.
I'm going. I don't wanna drink. I hate alcohol.
But getting drunk is the best thing.
I still have the bottle of eggnog. If you, but wait, do you like eggnog or no?
I like the.
I don't know if you like it.
I think if you made it sweeter, I would like it even more.
You can always add your own sugar if you want
But you're
to.
already sweet enough.
What? No, it's not enough. Not enough.
Sweet person by heart.
What? No, I'm evil. I am evil.
For your precious.
Wow. Have fun. Don't get too drunk.
I don't know how much longer I can keep going for.
What do you mean keep going with the voice? It's slowly restraining you?
No, I mean the drinking and the alcohol and the streaming.
Ooh, that was good. Wait, that was good. Wait.
Thank you.
Let me give you mine.
Oh, everyone's pro here. GG. Go next. Haven't done this voice in ages. I can't be bothered.
Game. Tracking. Please don't mess with me. I am not tracking.
Hi, Flynar.
Yes.
Leaving.
No.
You are. Friends plus well. Anyone can join off me. Oh boy. Oh god, yeah, I think after I finish the current glass, I'm gonna cut myself off. Because if I drink anymore, it's gonna be at the point where I feel like I'm getting sick. Hang on, I need to recalibrate. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Alright, sorry about that. I have to recalibrate. Also, I see the hydrate. Hang on, let me get the Christmas tree, and so you guys can see how Christmassy we are. More eggnog. Cream pie, everyone. Cheers. No. Oh. I could probably technically drink more, but it's getting to the.
You don't want to be fully drunk.
Yeah, I don't want to get to the point where I start to feel sick in the stomach, because that's not fun. So I think once this cup is done, I'll cut myself off. So this eggnog can go back into the fridge.
So you can save it.
Oh,
for later.
Yes, save it for later.
There we go.
There's plenty more eggnog in the fridge as well, so yeah.
What's eggnog like, even without alcohol?
It's very creamy. It's milk, heavy cream, and eggs with nutmeg mainly. So it's super creamy. But
It's creamy like your love.
I mean, my love might be a little bit salty, but eggnog is not salty. Eggnog is sweet.
It's sweet like you.
I will go. Merry Papa.
Mizu. Mizu. Merry Christmas. Mizu.
Are you drunk yet?
Pretty there.
You're. Oh, I miss being drunk. Genuinely. I haven't drank in 6 months.
You don't have to drink if you don't want to. It's fine.
No, I want to drink. I'm a slight alcoholic, but I haven't been drinking.
Oh,
that's fine. That's fine.
I love alcohol. I'll drink next year. Sometime.
Alcohol is life.
Save it for special occasion.
Like when I used to work full time, 5 days of work. It was the 2 days off. I was drunk for those 2 days all the time.
That's not good. Yeah, make sure this. Save it for a special
No,
occasion.
it's so fun. What are you saying? I actually drink for fun though.
I'm doing good. Okay.
We shouldn't drink
I'll be
too
right back.
much. Drink.
Oh no,
during special occasion.
I drink in moderation. As in, yes, I drink 2 times a week back then, but I didn't overdrink. I know my limits.
Okay.
I think there was a year where I drank once, at least once per week, the entire year, and I think I threw up twice only, or 3 times.
Oh.
Remember, that's like a lot of drinking, but I only threw up 2 or 3 times.
I've only thrown up.
I'm very controlled.
I think twice in my life. Just twice so far.
The only time I throw up is because I tried a new alcohol and I don't know the portions of it. Like my first time drinking bottle of wine, I drank half is my limit, but I went over it because I didn't know. And then yeah, good times in the toilet.
Oh, it's you learn.
I will help. I shall see you.
Alright, bye
Where did
bye.
the others go?
Thanks for coming. Bye. People.
Good luck
People
on
are
being
done.
mobile.
I'm not gonna stream for that much longer, so just gonna finish up the finish up the last bit of eggnog in my cup, and then gonna call the stream. Well, it's alcoholic eggnog, so yeah.
I've never tried eggnog before.
It's an American thing, and you can't find it anywhere else, so I had to learn how to make my own.
Yeah, last time Nimi told me that you came over to his place and got lost just to give him eggnog.
Yeah. Technically, I can still give him eggnog. This year, there's a bottle that I'm. Oh, there's plenty. I still have, I think, 2 full jars and 1 bottle, which I'm going to be slowly drinking over the course of the month. And if nobody wants, I can give him the bottle.
No, just drink it all. What are you doing? Be a true alcoholic.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta go. I'll see you guys later.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
I must go.
Oh, by the way, I have to hop off. I have plans with family. But it was nice meeting you.
Oh no! Oh no! The cat boy is drowning.
There we go.
Yeah, there's a seat over there at the corner.
It's ironic because I actually took swimming classes.
Have enjoy time with your family. Bye bye. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too. I might come back early, maybe to see you again, but who knows. I'll be back.
Once I
Hopefully.
stream, I'm probably gonna get off and just chill. We'll see.
Alright.
Um,
Yeah. Maybe we can. Maybe the next time we meet up, we could see Kai again together.
we'll see. See what's happening. Now go with your family. Don't get too turned on now.
Yeah.
So,
Alright. Later.
Nap.
Wait.
Nap, your turn. Come here. Come here. Come here. You with the Godfall avatar. Yeah, the crazy, unoptimized, and heavy as fuck God avatar.
How's it been? How's it going?
I'm okay. I'm approaching the end somewhat because, yeah, I think I'm cutting myself off once I'm done with this class. Also, hello, Errol. Welcome. Sorry I didn't say hi for I don't know how many minutes. Hi. Filling pothole, you didn't. Oh, I think fuck. I'm sorry, Errol. Well, I'm drunk. I'm drunk and I'm not gonna last much longer. I'll have to call it a stream soon. Ish. Once I'm done with my current 8 cup of eggnog, yeah. Once I'm done with this current glass, that's it for today's stream. You want kisses too? Yeah, you guys will have some kisses. There you go. Slightly creamy, drunken kisses. This top feels restrictive. Hang on, there we go. That feels way more comfy. Actually, hang on, this pants also feels too restrictive. I want to be comfy. Gonna take this off. There we go. Alright. I can be comfy. It's way more comfy. Lightweight. Listen. I went through 3/4 of a jar. It's not that bad. Especially considering there's a whole bottle of rum divided into 4 bottles. Okay. Wait. Hang on. Mitchell, you need to increase the volume of your mic. I could barely hear you. Increase it to max. And yeah, just max it out. Max out the volume. And in the meantime, I'm gonna finish up my eggnog. Those 2 hydrates should finish it. Cream pie, everyone. Cheers. And we're done. That's all the eggnog for tonight. Max out the volume in VRChat, Mitchell.
Yeah, I was waiting for an opening to talk. Sure you're allowed to be that comfortable on YouTube?
It's fine. It's fine, I'm fully clothed. It's
As
fine.
long as it's not too
We're not doing anything lewd, we're just chilling out here next to the pool. We have a large Christmas tree over there. We're fine. Totally fine. One of your favorite outfits. Yeah, I really like how this new sweater is turned out. Although I'm still annoyed by this clipping I see here, but there's no way for me to fix this. I can't, there's nothing I can do, unfortunately, so yeah. At the very least, with my current level of skill, there's nothing I can do to fix this. I need to go to the washroom. Let me put you guys here real quick. I'll be right back, chat. Entertain my chat for me.
greetings and salutations, I guess. Hello. I don't know what to do. I hope everybody's doing well. Christmas is going well and all that. Hope you got presents, everybody. Oh, butterfly. I really don't know. This is very I don't know. I really don't know, I'm sorry.
Back. What happened? Oh, balls gone.
Nothing much. Just trying to figure out what to do for everybody.
I should finish 3 jars. Nah, I'm not that crazy. I'm not that much of an alcoholic. When I was younger, I might be willing to like just power through and finish a whole jar, but yeah. I'm older now, and I'm like, it's not really worth it to drink myself until I feel sick, because the point is to, you know, have fun, relax, chill, and stuff. It's if I'm drinking until I feel sick, then that defeats the purpose, doesn't it? Or at least I feel like it defeats the purpose if I drink until I feel sick.
Worst case is like headache next morning, or like if I have a hangover. That's not really good. That don't kill.
Alright.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Gonna drink some water. Yeah, I'm fine. Alright, I'm fine. To say hi to the chat, especially if you're drinking alcohol with me. If any one of you guys want to drink alcohol with me, make sure you stay hydrated with water. I have 3 bottles of water next to me, which I'm probably gonna empty out over the course of the night.
Actually, Lucy, my trouble is Christmas. I just don't understand it. Instead of feeling happy, I feel sort of let down. I know how you feel about
Once you're done drinking alcohol,
getting depressed
It's important to drink water to replenish the water you lost from drinking alcohol. That's the primary cause of hangover. Yeah. The dehydration from drinking the alcohol. If you don't immediately pass out and you chill for a bit, drink lots of water, there will be no hangover at all. I'm drinking water too early for you to drink out. It's fine, don't worry about it. It's totally fine. As long as you're here, Chad. As long as you're here. Yeah. Oh. Alright. Everyone has kinda died off. I think this is a good point to end the stream. I'm cutting myself off from my eggnog, so I'm going to spend the rest of the night just chilling and rehydrating myself. Might stay in VRChat for a while more, but yeah, I'm done as far as alcohol is concerned. And hope everyone enjoyed this year's Christmas stream. Thank you so much for being here. Whether you're lurking, chatting, just dropping by, or you joined us in the world for a short bit. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Mwah, 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 mwah. Thank you for being here. As usual, we're going to thank my amazing extra mile supporters. Thank you to Lucky, Crop, Raz, Starcraft, Oxy and Maka for always giving me a big tip energy. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thank you so much. Next up, thank you to Lear, Maka, Sakito, Kylon, Lucky, Shu, and DJ for supporting me on Patreon and Fansly. Thank you so much. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Oh, I forgot to mention this last stream, but thank you to DJ one more time for refreshing your subscription on Fansly. I was supposed to mention that last stream, but I forgot. Thank you. Actually, I forgot to mention that for the entirety of December. I'm sorry, teacher. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you so much. Unless I forgot that I mentioned it before. Yeah, more than likely I forgot to mention it completely. But,
maybe.
Thank you. Thank you so much, DJ. It's really late, but thank you, DJ. Yeah, we're done for tonight. Thank you for everyone who dropped by to say hi just now. Say goodbye to Nip. Nipola. And saying bye to Mitchell. Mitchell. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah. Yesky Mitchell. It's a cute avatar. This is a Genshin avatar, isn't it? I'm fairly certain it's Genshin. It looks like
it's
Genshin.
Sucrose.
Sucrose on Genshin. Yeah. When where's the window? There it is. Hi. Bye everyone. Good night all. I'll see you again soon, okay? Love y'all. I'm still deciding whether or not I should buy my brain is slow. Whether or not I should buy fucking Death Stranding Director's Cut for $5. I'm very tempted, and I'm interested in playing it, but I'm not sure if you guys will enjoy watching me stream that game. Would you guys enjoy watching me stream Death Stranding? I'm not sure, but I'll think about it. I have, I believe, 7 more days to decide whether or not I want to buy the Director's Cut upgrade, which is for $5 a year. But more of a feeling game than action. Yeah, I know. I am okay with games with lots of downtime and walking and stuff, exploration, that kind of thing. I'm somewhat okay with those kind of games. Normally I don't do exploration or adventure games, but you guys have seen me play survivor builder games, right? And those games tend to be quite slow, so I'm okay with such games. It's just, yeah. If you guys think it'll be fun watching me experience Death Stranding again, then yeah, I might stream it next year. Actually, I'm quite tempted to stream it, but yeah, I'll decide on it. I have 7 days to decide whether to buy it, but yeah. Good night, chat. Good night. Bye bye. I'll see you again soon. Okay. Don't worry. Even though today specifically was the special Christmas stream, there's gonna be Eggnog streams for the next couple of days and weeks. Yeah, at least until I finish the Eggnog. Bye bye. Bye bye. I love you. I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye. Also, Merry Christmas! And Happy New Year too!